tactic turned, the neighbor contacted his mother. The mother contacted Holly's mother, who was at work. Karen immediately called her son Clint. Clint, Holly's brother, had not heard her sister's screams, but he was awakened by the family dog's barking and witnessed a disturbing scene involving his sister. He saw Holly outside with a man dressed in camouflage. Both of them were engaged in a heated conversation and seemed to be arguing. Upon seeing a man with Holly, Clint mistook the man for Drew, Holly's long-term boyfriend. He thought that they were breaking up. He heard Holly saying, "No, why?" Clint was on a call with his mother. He informed her that he could see Holly arguing with Drew. Karen knew that Drew had been out turkey hunting. She gasped and said, "That's not Drew." The situation escalated, leading Karen to urgently instruct Clint to get a gun and shoot the man standing next to her daughter. But Clint was confused and he replied, "Do you want me to shoot Drew?" As Clint observed from inside the house, he saw the man walking with Holly into the nearby woods. Despite his efforts to reach out to Holly and Drew via phone calls, there was no response. It seemed as if they both disappeared into the woods. When Holly's mom came home, she ran into the woods, searching for her daughter. Authorities found blood in the garage near the place where the man was seen arguing with Holly.
In the garage, there is evidence of a struggle, a puddle of blood later confirmed to be Holly's.
The search effort involved hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and community members. Cell phone pings tracked Holly's phone moving away from her home tower towards a wooded area near Interstate 40. This is an important area which will crop up again later in the investigation. Despite the extensive efforts, the lack of physical evidence and scarce leads added to the frustration and despair of everyone who was involved in the search. One minute, her brother saw her. The next minute, she was nowhere to be seen. In the early stages of the investigation, authorities had very little to work with. No clear suspects emerged, and there were no signs of Holly's whereabouts. The only physical evidence found was Holly's cell phone, which was discovered near Interstate 40. The phone had been turned off, making it impossible to track its movements. Police also started finding her belongings scattered around town. First, they found her lunchbox, then her ID card, and a receipt with her name on it. But no trace of where Holly went. The lack of physical evidence and clear leads made the investigation challenging, leaving investigators and the community in the dark about Holly's fate. As the search for Holly continued, her family's frustration and despair grew. Volunteers and family members spent countless hours searching for Holly, but their efforts yielded few results. The lack of progress in the investigation led to a sense of helplessness and anxiety among those involved in the search. The community rallied together, holding vigils and prayer services, hoping for Holly's safe return. Despite the community's efforts, Holly remained missing, and the investigation faced significant challenges. Her own family was distraught by the lack of adequate search efforts.
I do feel that this is just an example of why we do need a special task force to look for missing persons. Because I do believe there is a conflict of interest here, and maybe the big picture has been lost. And that picture is finding our daughter and our family member. And so I'm asking every Tennessean, every parent, and everyone that has a heart to please help me get this petition signed and get a task force in here that hopefully will not lose the picture, the big picture, and what the focus should always be and should have never gotten lost, and that is finding Holly and everyone else that's missing in Tennessee.
The search for Holly involved various tactics, including ground searches, aerial surveys, and the use of specialized equipment. Law enforcement officers and volunteers scoured the woods, fields, and waterways near Holly's home, hoping to find any clues that could lead to her whereabouts. Dive teams searched local ponds and rivers, while helicopters and drones surveyed the area from above. Despite these efforts, Holly remained missing, and the investigation faced many challenges with no positive results. Karen Bobo, Holly's mother, made a plea for her daughter's safe return during a press conference shortly after Holly's disappearance. She stated, Please, if you know anything, call the police. We need her home. Dana Bobo, Holly's father, also shared his feelings during an interview, stating, "It's the not knowing that's the hardest part." The community's involvement in the search for Holly was very crucial. Volunteers from across the region came together to help find the nursing student. Local businesses donated food and supplies, while community members offered their support and encouragement. Soon, police made an arrest for the first suspect in the case. Police took a local man named Terry Britz into custody. They suspected him of the crime as he was a sex offender who had committed the rape of a number of women. So police thoroughly searched his house. It was apparent that Terry Britz had a type. He liked pretty blonde girls with blue eyes, which fit Holly's description. But soon it became apparent that he had no involvement in the case. Hence, the charges were dropped. The Holly Bobo case took a significant turn when crucial leads and suspects emerged. This helped make some much-needed advancements in the case of the missing nursing student. The biggest breakthrough came when police took a man named Dylan Adams, a mentally challenged man, into custody. He was a local drifter and drug addict and was arrested on some weapon charges. Dylan stated that back in 2011, he had visited his brother's residence to pick up his truck. At his residence, he saw Holly. He reported that she was sitting on a green chair wearing a pink shirt. Dylan also reported that his brother had allegedly tortured and raped Holly and had even gone as far as to videotape the entire episode. With this account, Zach Adams, his brother, was also arrested in connection with the crime. The arrests marked a crucial development in the investigation, as the suspects were now formally charged and implicated in the Holly Bobo case. Police also took two other men into custody, Jason Autry and Shane Austin. Shane Austin was offered immunity if he came forward with information regarding the crime, but it was Jason Autry who had all the information. It was a pivotal moment in the investigation when witness Jason Autry provided a chilling account of Holly Bobo's abduction and murder. Autry's testimony detailed the events surrounding Holly's disappearance, implicating himself and others in the heinous crime. He stated that he visited the two brothers and had found them disposing of evidence. According to Jason, Holly's body was wrapped up in a carpet while one of the brothers was getting rid of the evidence. He claimed that the two brothers had planned on gutting Holly's body before throwing it into the Tennessee River. This was planned so that her body wouldn't float to the top. His testimony provided critical insights into the timeline and circumstances of Holly's abduction and subsequent murder. He also stated that when they were getting rid of the body, they realized that she was still alive. That's when Zach fatally shot her in the back of her head. The breakthrough in the case, fueled by witness testimony and investigative efforts, led to the arrest of key suspects and provided a clearer picture of the events surrounding Holly Bobo's disappearance. About 4 months after this, police also started investigating two other men who had ties with the murder of Holly. Two brothers, Jeff and Mark Piercy, were interrogated with respect to the crime. Jeff's former roommate, Sandra King, accused Jeff of possessing information regarding Holly's disappearance. She stated that in May of 2014, Jeff had shown her a video of Zach assaulting and torturing Holly. Both brothers denied having any relation to the crime. Police couldn't find any evidence linking them to the crime, including the alleged videotape. Hence, the charges against the two men were dropped. What followed afterwards was the most gruesome lead in the case so far. In September 2014, ginseng hunters accidentally discovered the remains of Holly Bobo. According to witness statements, they found a bucket in the woods, and upon removing it, found Holly's remains. This included a skull with many ribs and one shoulder blade. The skull had a bullet hole in the back. With this discovery, the hopes of dedicated friends and family who had prayed day and night for Holly's return were now shattered forever. A few months later, in April of 2015, one of the key witnesses and prime suspects in the case, Shane Austin, was found dead. Apparently, he had taken his own life. His attorney stated that this was because of the pressure from the prosecution and the incriminating gaze of the authorities and local community, who were hell-bent on proving him as the culprit. Austin tragically took to his grave any possible details he may have known about what happened to Holly. In 2017, the trial of Zachary Rye Adams and John Dylan Adams for the kidnapping, rape, and murder of Holly Bobo began. It was a lengthy and complex legal process. The prosecution's case heavily relied on the testimony of key witnesses, namely Jason Autry. However, the defense made significant efforts to discredit Autry's credibility. They argued that Autry's learning impairment and inability to tell time without a digital watch made his statements unreliable. The truck's owner had hidden the vehicle to prevent Zach from using it, which contradicted the prosecution's theory that the truck was used to transport Holly's body. A big part of the trial was whether or not audio and video recordings were admissible. Sound recordings of key events are admissible in evidence as long as the right conditions are met, according to legal tradition. The testimony of a participant in the conversation, the testimony of a witness to the conversation or its recording, or a chain of custody technique that identifies the speakers and the production of the cassettes can all serve as the basis for the admissibility of sound recordings. In this instance, the prosecution played audio recordings of the suspects having talks, which were verified by the testimony of one of the participants and the detectives who made the tape. The defense challenged the admissibility of these tapes, claiming they violated the suspect's constitutional rights and right to counsel. However, the court stated that the recordings could only be used for impeachment purposes and first-degree murder, especially aggravated kidnapping and aggravated rape. John Dylan Adams was found guilty of facilitating in first-degree murder, facilitating aggravated kidnapping, as well as of aggravated rape. Holly's family believed that those responsible for Holly Bobo's tragic murder were finally being brought to justice. The prosecution detailed the series of events they suspect resulted in Holly's death. On the morning of April 11th, Zach, Dylan, Jason, and Shane went to the Bobo residence to meet Holly's brother Clint. The purpose of their meetup was to teach him how to cook meth. This is something that Holly's brother strongly denies till this very day. That's when Holly came out, impeding their plans. It is assumed that this is when Clint saw her arguing with a man, which could be either Jason or Shane. This was followed by the fateful event where the men took Holly to raise awareness about missing persons and to support families of missing persons. Aftermath Services, a company that specializes in crime scene cleanup and biohazard remediation, was also involved in the aftermath of the Holly Bobo case. They provided professional and compassionate services to help the community and Holly's family deal with the aftermath of the crime scene. The community of Parsons, Tennessee, where Holly lived, also played a significant role in dealing with the aftermath of the case. They organized search parties, vigils, and fundraisers to support the Bobo family and to raise awareness about Holly's tragic demise. The community's struggle for justice and closure was proven by their continued support for the Bobo family and their efforts to keep Holly's case in the public eye. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any more true crime videos. See you in the next video.